Okay, awesome. Welcome to another episode of A Podcast. Your host, Stephen Maxted, and today we have Kevin Smith with Taclete Performance. Kevin, thanks for jumping on the show. We met last fall.
Yeah,
Not that it matters on that specific thing, but
having me.
we're at a trade show. We were booth neighbors a few doors down, and we had a great time connecting there
Absolutely.
with athletes. I just thought it was so appropriate for the show, and we connected recently to get you on here because we both have business owners and high performance athletes
Mhm.
on here now. It's kind of evolved and a lot of the time, high, business folks are high performing athletes in many ways. It's a
Sure.
competitive sport all on its own, and so super fitting. Super pumped to have you on here and chat about. Right now, it's one product that you have on the shelf, so to say, for you. But excited to chat with you and learn a little bit more about where things are going and where you came from. So thanks for making time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this. So,
Yeah. And Kevin, what's the background for you? I know this from a little bit of our discussion, but give the listener here a little bit of a feel for where you came from and how you got going with Taclete Performance here.
absolutely. I'll start off the podcast saying Taclete Performance. It's a tactical athlete. So you just combine the two words together, and you get the taclete and then performance. So I'll dive more into that a little bit later. But so my background, typical kid into sports, played hockey, football, soccer, all year round, summer hockey. So just playing sports that kind of got me into through high school and more high performing sports led me to kinesiology, and then through kinesiology, typical you're learning about weights and nutrition, so you kind of get more into that, which led me to get into personal training after I graduated university with kinesiology. And at the same time, I was in university, I was also in a volunteer firefighter. So I didn't know what path I want to do. I kind of just picked volunteer firefighter as just something to, help out with the community. And then I really started to enjoy it as I went. And then, I started taking courses. So like you get your level 1, your firefighter level 2, doing
Okay.
that while I was in university. And then when I graduated, there was actually a posting for Winnipeg Fire. So it was one of those things, okay, I just graduated. I didn't want to ruin the degree or whatnot, but it was
Right.
a pretty good opportunity. So I ended up applying anyways. It's like, what's the worst that could happen? So applied in 2017. It actually took 3 years for me to actually get on. So it was a long waiting list. So in the
Okay.
meantime, I was just doing some stuff with the personal training, just getting some experience, taking courses. So getting my personal training degree, nutrition course, and then I got a high performance training certificate as well. And then kind of led me to 2020, and then that's when I got on with the city. So the first year working with city firefighter was, pretty time consuming, just getting used to everything. But then I was like, okay, well, how do I bridge that gap between what I learned in school and being a first responder, which kind of got me to the whole tactical performance. So now we're at health and wellness for the first responders. So
Right.
how can I take where I'm right now in my profession and help people who may not know about training, nutrition, or even if they do, but how do you know, create high performers out of them? Like it, not just firefighting, but police, military, just such a demanding career where
Totally.
it doesn't pay to just be, average. Like you really want to excel because you might not need it. You might go through your whole career with no problems, but it's that one time that you have to run, jump, climb something, escape a situation. You want to be ready. So it's like, okay, so now we can start training others how to do this, and then even new recruits getting on, even just tests to prepare for, like, okay, what to expect in the career, and then because most of these departments have testing to get on, and usually if you fail,
Yeah.
you have to do the whole application process again. So the
Okay.
goal with a part of this company was to help, whether it is fire or police, how do I get them on and make sure they pass their test? And I did two, while university, 2 job shadowing to finish my degree. One was with a gym working with hockey kids, and another was working with City Winnipeg Police and their training services where they do all their annual testing in house and their training. So I got to do the
Cool.
POPAT, kind of run that. So that's another test for police to get on the job. So
Okay.
basically, that just led to the whole health and performance things, whether you're on the job or looking to get on the job. And then where the supplements kind of came in, it's not all about the training nutrition. It's just something to help bridge the gap. We don't have the best, let's just say, diets as a first responder. We lack sleep.
Well, totally. What's open late at night, right? Like what's accessible?
That, whether you
Yeah,
have a 2 a.m. call, you come back and, well, what do you have to eat? Not much. You're going for fast food. It's maybe you're scrapping
yeah.
some bagels or something, some bread or toast so, and it's just well studied that, lack of sleep or the night shifts really affect your eating patterns and just a load of health issues with that. So
Totally.
it's, yeah. So, but
Makes lots
basically
of
that
sense.
led me to the whole supplements, training, nutrition, kind of all in one. And so, yeah, that's kind of a little briefing of the
No, that's
company.
awesome. And I think I'll just like do like a quick like recap, make sure
Yeah,
I heard it all down, pretending like I'm the listener
there's a
and just
lot
kind of
there.
a
So
second.
now we can check the work. So,
Yeah, I know for sure. Like, I mean, ultimately we met when we were first like looking at that one product or and so the main product we'll say right now, a focus product for you guys.
yeah,
And then on top of that, it sounds like you're doing or and I don't know if I knew this before either, but kind of like a training aspect of the business. So it's kind of a full, well-rounded products and performance training behind the scenes
yeah,
with folks. So that's awesome. And I mean, that seems like just a perfect fit given your background, the way you described it here.
sure, yeah,
And I mean, it makes tons of sense to me. But like you said, like I could, as you were saying, and I think my mind and probably other people's minds were wondering too. You're working that shift staff. It's easier to go get something with sugar or caffeine in it.
yeah.
The
Oh,
coffee
for sure.
shops are open, right? You're hitting like a Tim's or a McDonald's or something else, and
Yeah,
that's it's hard to say that that is a healthy option. It might be just like the fact of the only option. A lot of places that do serve in my mind, but I may not even be the healthiest thing out there. But they're not even open that early. They're open, start open at like 9 or whatever. And that's more doesn't even work for like when I talk to some other athletes that are on here. Like that's a tough thing to do if they got a busy schedule. It's
for
like,
sure.
hey, like what am I going to go pick up, right? Like places like there's like Freshie. I don't know if they changed their hours or not, but I remember the one near me here. I was like, "Why aren't you guys open like earlier? Like, need you be open at like 7 so I can come get the juices? Not like 9. It's already too late. Like I already did my routine at like
Yeah,
6. So
yeah,
to come and get something quick, it's like it's not on. I got to go home and get something like your product, right, to throw in like a
for
shake
sure.
or whatever,
Yep.
kind of thing. So, but yeah, it's very interesting. It's good that you kind of like are offering this for folks. And the area that you cover right now, Kevin, I mean, you're focused in Winnipeg, that's the home base, but I think you mentioned too, like you ship across Canada
Yep.
as a whole. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep. So right now being local, but I do ship across Canada, and kind of the whole goal is the company can be used for anybody. Like I don't want to say, oh, it's like for only athletes only. Just a funny story. My health and wellness expo, I had a couple, probably older folk, probably 70 or 80, but they just saw the banner Taclete Performance and they just looked at the banner like, oh, I'm not an athlete, and they kind of walked away. I'm just kind of like, no, no,
Right.
like it's the brand for, I want to reach first responders, but really in the end, anyone can have the products. And I only have the one performance greens right now, so a greens powder. But
Right.
when I hopefully can expand into like more performance based supplements, whether it be like electrolytes or even get into some joint or sleep support supplements, yes, I'm targeting the first responder market, but in the end, anyone can have it. So across
Right.
Canada, anyone can buy it, but I would really like to start getting into departments outside of just Winnipeg. Like I've had quite a few sales within Winnipeg, even with Winnipeg Police and Winnipeg Fire. But it's basically how do I reach, like say Vancouver or just anything east west coast. Once I
Yeah.
can kind
Yeah.
of go to them and be like, hey, like they offer supplements dedicated to first responders, and kind of segue into probably another part of the conversation, but greens kind of the first product. But once I kind of get a flow for things this way, I'd like to start doing some more research and development on whether it'd be like a sleep support or more performance based supplements. So interviewing maybe other departments or even guys in the city here, it's like, hey, like I know supplements aren't all. It's really comes down to health and wellness, sleep. That's all priority number one. But if you had a
Right.
product that you would want, what's something that would really help you in your day-to-day things? So Many
Right.
people are like, hey, maybe it's sleep support. Like I come
Right.
home and maybe melatonin just doesn't cut it. Like even me, like on melatonin, I'll take it at nighttime on my days off, but I'll wake up super groggy and just not feeling refreshed at all. So it's like, okay,
Right.
so maybe a main thing is a sleep support product, to help drive
Mhm.
to sleep. Maybe not to keep you asleep, especially if you're taking out work and the gong's going
Yeah.
off. But just to help you, okay, it's 9 o'clock. I'm kind of getting into that bedtime routine. You
Right.
take it like an hour before bed and it just kind of helps you fall into that sleep. So that's
Right.
kind of one idea. Another one I had was like a recovery product, similar to like kind of what BioSteel would be.
Okay.
Um, it's like different from like electrolytes where you're replenishing like lost salts and minerals.
Mhm.
But the recovery formula would have a few different ingredients that like, okay, like I finished maybe a 6 hour fire call or something. We finish the call, we come back to our station to clean up, grab a little food, and then water. Instead of just water, you add this supplement to it just to kind of help replenish your body, because it's like not like you finish an event like hockey game or something and then you go home and you sleep for 12 hours. Like you could finish a 4 hour fire, come back for an hour, and then you could get sent right out again. Where sometimes we don't have a lot to eat or drink in the meantime.
Right.
You're going to the next fire, next call, already pretty drained. So it's just something convenient. Be like, okay, here's a little powder. Oh man, we got another call. Okay, pop it in. And at least you're getting some sort of recovery back into you, and you can kind of replenish all the lost salts and minerals. So, but
Totally.
basically that. So like that's just kind of leading into interviewing departments across Canada. Like what's something you guys are looking towards? Like what's something you need in the halls to help you
Yeah.
along?
Yeah.
So, and then once I can get the feedback and then be like, okay, now I can start looking for whether it's manufacturer I'm with right now or something different. Be like, okay, I kind of got a vision in my head. Let's kind of create this product and
Cool.
we can put it to the market. So that's the
Awesome.
supplement side of things. So
No, I think that's great. I mean, like the product that you have right now, great starting point, I think,
mm,
for what folks need and what you just kind of addressed there, right? In terms of
yeah,
energy, and just maybe like break down that product a little bit more for us, Kevin. But what is in this the product that you have right now? To me, it's like a green and like veggies fruit kind of thing going on in the mixes. It's just like a very general statement. So
yeah,
let's open that up. But
absolutely.
what's
So
in there exactly?
greens powder basically dried up vegetables in a powder
Okay.
form. It's just an easy way to. I'm not saying that not necessarily replace vegetables. It's just something to help
Right.
kind of bridge that gap. Like if I'm missing, it's kind of top off your stores. So in our product, we have 7 complexes, just kind of broken down to like sea vegetables, other types of vegetables, land vegetables, and fruits, grains like oats, and then
Okay.
within that 7 complexes, so like 51 ingredients, it's just trying to get a little bit of everything. And within those ingredients, you get a bunch of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants to help, boost your immune system, digestive health. So it's, I tell people this, if you have a good diet and you eat lots of vegetables in a day,
Yeah.
probably something you don't need just because, you're already getting a lot from your natural food. So, which sometimes I try to, but I don't necessarily all the time. So it's just a good thing in the morning. As soon as I wake up, glass of water, I'll have a scoop of this and just helps me feel like refreshed, ready to go. And then, kind of continue on my day. So that's just kind of a brief
Oh,
overview of
awesome.
the greens powder.
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah. That's perfect. That's great. And how big is the case, or how many like
serving.
servings and stuff would come in? Yeah, if I don't know if there's a, I think that's probably the right way, right?
Yeah.
Probably
Oh,
comes
yeah.
with a little standard
Yeah.
scoop thing. Okay, cool.
So 30 servings with our product. So each scoop, you can take it whenever's in the day, morning,
Okay,
lunch, supper, nighttime, whatever. I just prefer to take it in the morning because I get that first glass of water, take a scoop of that, and a couple other vitamins, and it's kind of just my routine I've got into. But I know other people that take it during lunch, like after you get that lunch crash after eating. So really,
yeah,
it all depends on you and your preference. But yeah, so 30 servings per container.
awesome. Okay, so it's like a month if it's
Yeah,
yeah, one a day. So
yeah,
to say I'm just like reverse mathing that. So I think about a lot of like the
yeah.
supplement stuff that I have under the counter. I'm like, okay, some of them are harder to keep track of because they're in like that awkward stage, like month and a half, 2 months, and you depends how much you're taking of it, like different
Exactly.
proteins, whey, stuff like that. But that's really straightforward.
But
So
even.
and it's
Oh, sorry. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, no, you go.
Okay. Now I'll say pretty much same thing with like protein. It's I usually take a full scoop, but some days I'll just do half a scoop, and you can do the same with this. I still
Right.
want the taste and the flavor from the greens in the morning, but I got a full day of eating pretty healthy food. So maybe I'll only take a half scoop. So it could last you a little bit longer. So
Especially where how big are these scoops or whatever? Like, this container's not monster
no,
big,
it's
right?
gonna be
It's more
about,
like a
yeah, about that. I don't know. I got
okay,
some up there a little bit, but a couple five up
for
there.
sure.
But yeah, small
Okay, yeah,
small scoop. So
okay, that's good. Convenient to take with you then and have
yeah.
in your bag if you're going to work, if that is the case, or, have it on there.
Mhm.
Awesome. And what are some like I know that we'd met at some like running events. Do you have other things that are on the calendar for this year for you besides like doing kind of like the B2B, like some one-on-one stuff within the space that you're in? Other events that you're going to go to this year for races and stuff?
So I got three things I'm kind of gearing up for this year. One, I'm looking towards the Manitoba Marathon. I'd like to, have a nice
Awesome.
presence there and a nice booth. Kind of similar to where we were at the event we were at there in October, the Winnipeg Fire Run. That's the second
Yeah.
event we looking forward to in October, I would assume. With
Yeah.
that one, I'd like to actually do a little bit more fundraising of some sort, just to help raise funds for it. Take a little bit bigger role in that event.
Okay.
Kind of relation to Winnipeg
For
Fire.
sure.
So I think it'd be a great opportunity to actually get out there and probably maybe even run myself,
Nice.
to help fundraise for that. So yes, that race, the Manitoba Marathon upcoming here. We just finished with the Winnipeg Wellness Expo back in February, so that was a good success.
Awesome.
And then yeah, that's pretty much so far, anyways. The kind of the two big events that we're working towards. We're in the talks of kind of potentially putting supplements in smaller stores. So kind of
Nice.
figuring that out and see how that goes. I'd love to kind of get the more of the local market for now. So
Okay. And are you guys in any stores? I guess maybe that's another question. Like
yeah,
to date, are
no,
you guys available in
not
any stores?
no, not
No.
currently. I don't want to phrase this because like it's definitely something you want to do, and it's definitely a goal of mine to get into stores. It's just something I
Yeah.
don't want to necessarily rush yet. Like
100%.
it's
No, you go at your
it's
own pace there.
exactly, and it's
Yeah.
more so in terms of knowing people in the community. I would say,
Right.
for sure, people like know your products. Like, oh, it's at so and so store. Maybe at Popeyes. Like instead of having to order off you, I'll go to the store, and that's totally fine.
Right.
But in stores, let's say Popeyes, Grill, any of those stores, they already have lots of product there. So I don't necessarily want to be like, okay, here's my product. And then people walk by and be like, no idea who this is, no idea who this is. I'm going to go with the product
Right.
that I know. So basically, once I'm just going to say Winnipeg specific, when I can get so many people be like, yeah, I've heard of this company, maybe haven't bought from it yet. Then you're kind of in a better rotation to like put it in the store. That way people walk by like,
Totally.
oh, I didn't know they sell this here.
Yeah, or I've seen this somewhere
Yeah,
else have that like build up before you get in there. I think
exactly.
that's a good idea. Very cool. How about
Yeah.
other outside of province? Are you guys doing anything, Kevin? Are you going to try to, travel outside of province at all with the products? Besides making some contacts and networking that way?
Not currently. Again, one of those things that I would love to start doing and
Yeah.
getting hold of, whether it be other companies to work with or even departments. It's definitely always something
Okay.
in the back of my mind. Like I have something on the calendar, but just something to get
Yeah.
out there
Yeah.
and get exposure because you can do all these events in Winnipeg and Manitoba, but to expand, provinces or countrywide, it's another thing. And so whether it
Yeah.
be a big event kind of relating to whether it's my career path, first responders, anything like that, then okay, you
Right.
know what, maybe it's worth it to take the trip over there. So definitely in
Yeah.
my mind, just haven't, nothing yet. So
No, no, for sure. It popped into my head as we're going here. I was like, oh, maybe there's something that you've seen or looking at. Like I know last year we had the games here. I don't know if you were maybe even participating in it
yeah,
from
I
that
was
end of things because you were still earlier on maybe in this. But what did you play in? At
hockey.
the end, hockey. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, because there was like a long list. That was the biggest. Sorry, I should have said it was what was the whole title of the thing? It was like the
Winnipeg Fire
fire.
Police
It was
Games.
fire and police games. Yeah, or but like it was like it was an international thing. Like there was like thousands of people that came here to play in it, right? So it
Yeah,
wasn't
oh yeah,
just
there's tons of
yeah,
people, like, tons of sports, pretty much like a mini Olympics essentially. Like you had
yeah, yeah,
soccer, even just hockey alone. I know they had a bigger venue planned. As the time came up, they started losing some teams. which is okay. Like you still had lots of people from like Europe come in different events. People from
Cool.
Australia. There was a hockey team from Australia. You
Yeah.
had mainly Canadian and a couple American hockey teams. I would have
Yeah.
really played some like other countries, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. But lacrosse, like yeah, you had tons. Like it was tons of events going on, and the only other one I would have done would have been the running, but the running and the hockey kind of coincided. And I know if I did the full marathon, I probably would have been
I think I have to go jump on the ice
to
after.
play ice
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
yeah, but
That's
I think the
amazing.
next games are 2025 in Alabama. So if potentially put a team in or go solo and do some running, but
Yeah.
it was definitely a good event, and I really wish I was somewhere in my place in the company to kind of sponsor that event, put a booth up or something like that. But it just wasn't
Yeah.
the right
Oh
time.
no, well, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I was still, like, early on when we had chatted, I think. Was that one of your first trade shows last fall when
Yeah,
you
that
had
was
done the marathon? It was the first one?
yeah.
It's still early on in the journey then.
Oh
That's
yeah,
cool
I
that
just
I just
started.
thought of it, yeah, as we're talking here though about it, so
Yeah.
yeah, awesome. No, that's good. And what are some things that, I guess, like, other products that you're exploring, like, down the road that in? Because like, right now on the website, and if folks will include, like, the links and stuff, like, later on here or
Yep.
whatever, we'll mention that at the end here, but, the one product and you have some merch and, like, some shaker cups, which look awesome,
Yep.
on that end of things. But what are some of the other, like, products that people can look forward to kinda, like, keeping an eye on for you? Or what do you see? And I know that you're gonna ask some folks about what they think, but
Yeah.
where are you leaning towards, as far as that goes? What does that look like for you right now, Kevin?
So you talk about what kind of more supplements down the line? Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
uh, kind of briefly what we talked about there earlier. So based on like what other people would say, but uh, really looking towards performance-based supplements. I'd like to be a leader of like the performance-based supplements, like helping people with their
Right,
endurance or their job. It's kind of those things that health supplements will kind of coincide, whether it be vitamins, joint supports, like that's all good too.
right,
Potentially standard protein powder, your pre-workouts. Those are all in my head, and I'd love to have a massive lineup of all of that stuff.
right,
But I really kind of have to gear towards the market I'm in, and whether that be electrolyte powder is another kind of big topic right now. That's just
right,
because it's in the same line of like that recovery formula. It's just your electrolytes. So it's where I kind of stem from that is especially summertime coming up. We lose a lot of
right,
sweats, not just our job, it's any of those jobs.
totally.
Heck, it can be construction, anything in the summertime here. It's the sweat
Right,
a lot. So it's that's kind of the next product I'm gearing towards,
yeah.
just to help replenish the sweats. Like I said
Well, I think
before, we'll go on fire, we'll be dripping sweat, and kind of
yeah,
all we have is water. So it doesn't really replenish things, it just hydrates you. So
right,
definitely that. Protein powder is definitely on the list as well. It's just kind of COVID really took the prices way up on a lot of the supplements, so it wasn't really the best time to
okay.
start. But
Yeah,
like I think when I was looking early 2020, um, let's just say on average protein was maybe $20 a tub, and then I
mhm,
think it jumped up to like 35 $40 for a 2 pound tub, and that's for
yeah,
me to make it and ship it to me. So if I'm getting a 2 pound tub of protein for $40, it just didn't leave a
yeah,
lot of
so
what
yeah,
what do you sell it for? Like there has to be a limit. Like I feel guilty if
yeah,
I was selling a 2 pound tub of protein for like to you for $80. Like it's just
right, but
what do you do?
then,
So
yeah,
that
it
that
is a
was
tricky dilemma. Yeah,
that was like the first kind of product I was looking at when I was getting to the space, just because
totally.
taking a lot of protein, and
Yeah,
it's like yeah, no, didn't work out. Um, so definitely the kind of sleep support, the electrolytes, and the kind of recovery formula seem to be like kind of the three things that I'm working towards
okay,
next.
cool.
Um, so a lot of stuff I've had taken throughout my years, and kind of why I got into the whole supplement side of things. It's something I've been taking since high school. Let's just say I'm already taking it, trying to learn as much as I can about it. If I'm taking it so much, like might as well do it myself and kind of know what's going in it and the process behind it. That's kind of what led
Cool.
me into the second part of this business is doing the supplements. It's so the kind of the trustworthy part of things. Like if I'm selling it to you or you, I can personally tell you the process behind it. I know it's a clean manufacturer. Just this,
Awesome.
a lot of the supplement side of things. It's not so bad now, especially in Canada. Health Canada is pretty good with it. But 10, 20 years ago, they said it was like the wild, wild west. Like they would throw whatever they wanted into the product, make you feel good, pre-workouts, like you're jumping off walls. And then after a while, like, okay, there's a lot of like illegal stuff in here that we can't have in here. So they definitely
Right.
start cramping down on that a bit more. Can't have this. So it's just, I'm starting to get segue here, but like even
No, no, it's good.
there's so many companies out there that people don't know what's in them. Like the testing, they don't like they say they might be tested. Just you don't know kind of what's in it 100%, and that's the scary part.
Yeah.
Like as average consumers, you may walk into a store and see a protein powder on the shelf, and okay, this looks good, sounds good, I'll take it, and then 5 years later, you find this company just went under, and just there was no testing done. There's a lot of filler in it. So
Right.
it's just it'd be nice to in the space now to actually educate people along the way and be like, okay, this is what you look out for. Like on supplements, you want a company that does third-party testing. You want to make sure the manufacturer is clean, that they have like annual audits. So that's just on like
Right.
me looking at the manufacturer side of things, and then
Yeah.
when the product is tested, that it's tested kind of your standards. Yeah, you're kind of taking out things that you want, whether it's heavy
Yeah.
metals, pesticides. Like that's something people don't think about, but that's
Yeah.
a lot of pesticides, potentially heavy metals in some of these companies that people aren't looking for, and they just kind of want to get the cheapest product out there. So
Right.
you kind of want to like set that standard high and coming into it. So
Cool. No, no, I mean, I think that makes sense. It was funny. We had Andrew, weightlifting guy, who was on one of the episodes that we just had on, and he was talking about like before he does a contest, because you get definitely labeled with a kind of like a strike across your name if you ever get tested, and but he said a lot of the time it's not like a thing that people are trying to do. It's just something that happens from
yeah,
taking regular supplements, even if you are in
Mhm.
some cases or whatever. But I'm just like, because you have a few supplements underneath the island here or whatever at home, and so I haven't done that amount of research on them. Kind of just have the trust that
Yeah.
I'm also not a competing athlete at that level. But we just had
No.
someone. I mean, I don't know the details on this one. I don't know if you saw this. It was kind of like a Canadian funny thing. My sister was a curler, but well, it's not that funny. I guess this person got in trouble, but it sounded like it was a substance thing. I don't know the details, but I was thinking, I'm like, oh, like maybe it's something just like this. Like I said, don't know the details on that one. I don't know if you saw it in the headlines a little while ago, but random testing and then
Yeah.
came back uh, positive for something. Like I said, maybe it was something that was
Yeah.
definitely not to be had, but could it have been human error within the process of having a product that you just didn't know had
Exactly. Like,
something in it?
yeah.
That's risky.
We
So
we kind of learned like we go through some of those cases while we were in university about those testings. Um,
yeah,
Even outside, just when I was getting into this, you see certain, I guess, articles out there about these tests. So like, okay, like I don't want any of that to happen, which kind of like where I want to get to. I want to, like I said, I want to test with like the highest quality. So there's a few regulating bodies. Like, there's a few of them. The most well known, I guess, let's say, is Informed Choice. So
okay,
the company I'm with, so they do third party testing for me. So when the product's done, they'll send it to a manufacturer, and they test for like heavy metals and pesticides and a bunch of other
cool,
stuff. So and then it ships to my house. Then the next
yeah,
step beyond that is kind of where I want to get to. You would go to a company like Informed Choice, like another third party testing, but they're well known for if you essentially have their mark on your label, like college athletes, professional athletes, military, whatever, they can have this,
okay.
ensuring that it's tested
It doesn't
100%.
have anything,
Exactly.
yeah, that they're good.
So
Okay,
if that's the case,
cool,
then I would get the product here, and then okay, it's already kind of third party tested with my manufacturer. I would send out a unit to them. They would do their measurements as well and testing. And once I get the green flag, then okay, it's good to go. They can put their mark on my label, and okay, now I can market it to everybody. Like, you don't have to worry. Like, you can take my supplement 100% and you can compete. So down the line is definitely where I want to get to. It's pretty expensive, like, because you have to, let's just say I order 400 units of a product. Every time I
Yeah.
order the next batch, it's the same thing. You got to send in for testing. And I think it's like
Yeah.
a couple $1,000s every single time just
Oh,
to test that one batch. So it's
yeah.
definitely something we want to do. It's getting to that point. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Volume. Well, that's pretty interesting that it has like that check mark on there, so to say, to like clear
Yeah.
the product of any concerns like that. That's a good regulatory thing to have in place.
Yeah, if you're
Um,
interested, like, just go to Informed Choice, and like they've got a few different kind of
okay.
bodies within Informed Choice, and it kind of, and a lot of other, I don't know if it's their company as well, but they have a little section where they can list off of like banned substances that you can't have. So, okay, I look on here, this ingredient, okay, well, that's banned. Then I look at my product, like, okay, like,
Right.
I want it. So, but there
Okay.
are some out there, like, just they 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 just kind of putting a product out there, and
All right.
kind of going back into like the barrier of entry, like, it is super low. Really, anyone can kind of get into this, but obviously to make it more successful, you have to do like a lot more research. But there are companies out there that you'll go talk to them, like, hey, I want to have a protein powder. Okay, sounds good. We'll send it to you, and okay, cool. And I got 200 units of protein powder. They didn't do any background check into like what the manufacturer's like and their quality, if they're clean. Like, there's just, I remember I think I spent like 2 or 3 months at the start of this trying to like find the perfect manufacturer to get started with. That's okay. It kind of ticked all my boxes because I was like, okay, I don't want, shady manufacturer or something like that throwing random stuff in there. So
Right.
that there's a lot of people that just want to kind of throw things out there. Like, ah, cool, sounds good. Here's a protein powder I spent, all 2 minutes looking at, and now I can sell it
Right.
to people. So it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely something that kind of be aware of. So it definitely opened my
Very
eyes when I
cool.
was getting into it, to kind of look at other
Yeah.
products, why, be like, kind of, how is it tested? So I don't know if you
Yeah. I
have
can imagine so.
done any research on your products you buy, but
In petite. A little bit. Actually, I use some other friends. Some haven't been on
Mhm.
podcasts, but I definitely rely on some friends in the fitness space to kind of guide me. I found over time though too, um, within some of the products I'd used between brands, I can't remember all the names of them, but um, some didn't seem to have lots of like check marks on them in terms of like different, it says certifications or whatever on the product.
Yeah,
Some of those I did prefer, versus ones that were just kind of like, hey, here's just your standard like whey powder. That was kind of one of the things that I have used, or like a creatine one. But
mhm,
then even within those spaces, there's you're following different stuff online, and where what are people saying about those products.
exactly.
Is kind of where I got some of my information from, but ultimately it was more how I felt afterwards. And I did find, I guess, like a correlation between stuff that was probably more filler in nature than versus like stuff I spent a little bit more on, but did have all these checks and stuff, because it kind of almost like called baloney for a bit. I remember
Yeah,
having a mix of both underneath the island and being like, okay, let's take this one for like a week, let's alternate, let's go to this one for a week or a 2 week period, and just see how I'm feeling, feeling one, how am I looking, performance
yeah,
wise? Did anything change? And that, maybe that's not a big enough window, but I remember testing it out like that for a bit. And the ones with more, I guess we'll call it, like I said, certifications and whatever or check, whatever marks of people testing this stuff out seem to be a better product ultimately. So I think when you do some of the stuff, I mean, if you're reading labels, probably would have been easier. I'm kind of more of a take action. I'll
yeah.
just
You
go
go
get it and
on sale, I'll buy it.
yeah, I'll try this thing out. But I had one that I'd used for quite some time, and then I strayed away from that.
Mhm.
Because actually to your point though, the price point on this one went up by quite a bit. It went up, I don't know
Yeah,
what it was, like $20 a container went up. I'm like, did I like it that much?
I know,
That
right?
question of,
It can
like,
get
was it worth it?
it can get pretty pricey. I'm not saying like I get supplements all the time, but it's just if I'm going into a Popeyes and loading up or whatever, it can add up quick if I'm not kind of paying attention and kind of, I don't use tons. Like, I just kind of might say you really don't even need the supplements. Like, you can definitely get away with a good diet and sleep, but whether it's a
Totally.
placebo or anything, especially like pre workouts, I get
Yeah.
definitely enough caffeine for drinking coffee, but I'm like, if I miss a workout without a pre-workout, it's like not the same. Definitely could be a placebo, but it's just like something I need. I just kind of have in my
That
routine.
you
So it's
yeah.
just part of the routine, and it's just okay. If I forget my pre-workout at home, do I even want to work out right now? So
Is it even worth it? That's
even when
funny how that
you go
works
home,
though. Yeah,
yeah,
'cause over time, I'm kinda like I've rethought some stuff for taking breaks from things, and I'm like, "If is it a placebo or not, or is this really getting like a benefit from it?" And I'm kind of like of the thing, even if it is a placebo, I'm kind of okay with it. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't feel like it's hurting, and I'll use
for
the
sure.
products like that.
Like
Um,
the whole
great.
supplements gets a little iffy. Like there's tons of articles, like not just in supplements, but anything. It's like for every 10 articles that say something's good, there's always 10 saying it's bad. So
Yeah,
basically just tell people it's obviously what you feel best about. And if if taking that vitamin or whatever in the morning like makes you feel good and makes you like part of your day, great. Obviously with the
yeah,
health supplements, like kind of health side of supplements and like performance based. So like with the health, it's like your vitamins, minerals, joint support, sleep support, performance, getting into like the pre workouts and that type of stuff.
yeah,
Obviously, there are people who probably have terrible diets and they would benefit from certain vitamins at least. Um,
totally.
but I just tell people like if you have a good diet and like you definitely don't need supplements, you don't need supplements. But like if you feel like you need that pre workout in the morning or whatever to get you going, and you don't drink coffee, there you go. Like I think my
Yeah,
caffeine tolerance is through the roof. Like can have a cup of coffee and go right to bed. So like whether the pre workout caffeine does anything for me, probably not. But just probably that placebo. So
yeah,
do you like what
that's
do you
awesome.
usually take for supplements? Do you take them on?
Usually just like a protein powder, but actually I kind of protein are with like some creatine in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
mix because I do like just kind of getting back into it now. I hit more weights over winter, a little bit of cycling, um, being away on some vacation time there. Brought a bike down, was outdoors doing that. But as I get into doing more like swimming and distance stuff, I find I can stay more hydrated with that product in there. I don't
yeah.
know if it's for everyone, but
Hmm.
another I did well, I kind of did it actually the same little test thing that I'm experimenting on myself with, but I did a little like cycle of creatine a few years ago when I was heavy into tries just before COVID. I was training for like Ironmans, and I found I could
Nice.
stay hydrated way better. And that's what they claim. It's basically holding,
Get
more
whole
water.
water in your system for sure.
Yeah. So I've seen the benefits of using stuff like that, but again, that's kind of like self discovery. I had never really used it until a few years ago, and I found someone recommended it to me. Another one of my like fitness friends in the dietary side, they said maybe you should try this because I kept bonking, kind of just like getting like hazy and stuff, and on cardio stuff, whether it be biking longer rides or training or running. I just found like I needed something to, um, yeah, help out there. So I find benefit from using that. Not for everyone. That's not a promotion, or I don't know if I need to say that on my own
Right.
podcast, but that's not hustling or pushing any kind of products like that. But that's just what I have used, and then protein
Yeah.
powders is in there. But the last bit for my diet, I definitely just went heavier on protein stuff. So a lot more eggs. I was kind of just trying to follow like more of a whole food diet. I found I felt,
Yeah. Exactly. That's
uh, yeah, like what call it like the one ingredient list
yep.
amongst everything else that I have like seen, read, done
Mhm.
over the last probably several years.
Yeah.
I think that is the simplest way to go about having a feeling the best. I
Ex-
felt like the lightest. I don't have any gut issues because of it. A little bit
Exactly.
more meat within there. Yeah, but that's kind of my secret sauce we'll call right now. But how about yourself, Kev? What do you throw in your diet?
Usually, definitely the greens. But
Yeah, greens every day.
greens every day.
Yeah,
Well, I really only stick with protein and sometimes like pre-workouts, depending how like the day goes, I'll stick with that. Vitamins, minerals in the morning. So like I'll have my greens powder and vitamins with water in the morning. If I'm doing a workout in the gym, pre-workout, and protein is just good to have on hand. Like I said, I try to get everything from natural foods. Just sometimes convenience,
time.
just being out there.
Yeah,
Um, the
totally.
protein, or if like I'm end of the night, I'm like I didn't get as much as I wanted to, and it's just nice to have. I definitely like try not to rely on it.
Yeah,
And then kind of the switch from I'm sure you've done every sort of fitness out there, heavy weightlifting, going to this, but my shift has kind of gone into the endurance side of things, like kind of doing that hybrid approach. So I'm not in the gym weightlifting 5-6 days a week anymore, just kind of doing random stuff. It's like, okay, maybe I want to do 3 times in the gym. But now I like to do a lot more running and maybe mobility stuff. So I'm gearing up for a marathon here June 1st in Fargo. So
Nice.
it's definitely a lot more like carb drinks, electrolytes, just salt replacements. Because did the Fargo marathon, was it 2 years ago? And that was my first marathon. And it's like, okay, I'll just kind of, I know you had to replenish some salts along the way, and I thought they had everything kind of as you went, and those little gel packs. So I didn't have anyone with me, but like, hey, they'll have 3 gel packs at like mile 6, 12, and 18. So it's like, okay, cool. I know that's what I need. And then I didn't see any at mile 6 or 7, like whether I missed it or not. And then got to the next mile, I didn't see one of those gel packs to like mile 18, and that's kind of where you're hitting that wall. So when you're completely depleted of everything, and I was like, I don't have anything. Like I'm starting to cramp up and like only drinking a little bit of Gatorade as I was running. And then I just hit that wall in that last 6 miles. Like I was blacking out. I'm like, I don't even
Yeah,
remember.
you just have like that curtain start to come down or
Run
whatever.
20 seconds, start cramping, stop. And then it was a drag to finish it. So after that race, like, getting into more running and a lot more intense, it's like, hey, sipping on like that carb drink an hour before the run. If I'm going anything longer than 10, 15 miles in the heat, like I'll start taking salt tablets, and electrolytes just kind of replenish what was lost. So definitely a transition to more of that style of training and kind of supplementation. So yeah, it
Nice.
it was definitely a wake up experience, but
No, that's good. I mean, I've had a couple where just like run out of water and probably like nutrients within that time too, where like you think you have enough snacks. And chatted about this on a recent podcast too, where like I remember this one bike I went on, and it sounds weird to say this, but I don't know how much you cycle. It sounds like more of a runner in that way. But I used to mountain bike lots, and I got into road biking, and that's what got me into doing tries. And like it was like a drug, the whole like cycling thing. I didn't think I was gonna like
yeah,
the road bike. I was like, I literally bought one. And I'm like, oh, I'm probably gonna return this. Like I don't think I'm gonna like it, but something to me was like, you should try this thing out. And just loved it. But I remember this one ride in particular, I just like went for an extra like 20K. It had been like a long ride, and I was trying to get like closer to 100K than I was around. I think like 50. I got up to like about 75, and um, I remember just like I was like things just started narrowing in for me
totally.
at that point. Yeah, on the ride, and I'm like, whoa! I was like, I need to like stop immediately, and I remember I stopped in front of this house on Recruit Road at the time. I was coming back down that way, and I literally just like pulled in this place had horses or whatever, and I saw like this lady there. I just like held out my water bottles. I was like I wasn't making any sense. I think they knew like I was like
Yeah,
starting to fall out of it, but water was enough to kind of cold water was enough to like get me going home that day. But then I was out of commission for probably a couple days because of that. Pushed a little bit harder, right? Your body the next day is totally toast, and I find 2 days after is like even worse. Things tighten up, even though
yeah.
you're adding the stuff in. It's like your body's just like going in a freak out mode. Like, what did you do?
What the hell?
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so I definitely, I mean, learned a lot, good lesson that day because like,
sure.
or like fall on the side of the road, or whether it be biking or running and pushing too hard. But it's a good thing to note, I think, for a lot of athletes that are in the endurance space is to, just get into it, or you haven't hit that wall yet of pushing yourself hard enough, which don't, make sure that you have enough snacks. But it's something we joke about when we ride, right? It's like, do we
Exactly.
pack enough snacks as like, haha, but like you push it further and you're going to wish that you had something on you. So,
Hey,
yeah.
that and that kind of like, again, I know I'm still kind of early on in like the business and even my career and even in the running space, but it's those things. It's like, okay, so my experience with marathons or whatever, and not being replenished enough. It's, okay, how do I take that into like the department? Whether it's like, I just keep saying like the fire department, just because that's who I work for. But you know, plus 35 summer heat. You go in there for 20 minutes. You got all this gear on. And you're dripping sweat, and
Yeah.
there's countless times where like anywhere, but people just drop and you just lost so much. And it's hard work. You're sweating lots, so it's kind of like, okay, well, if I can have a product that's readily available for people, so when you
Right.
come out, not just water, because I know that didn't work.
Yeah.
here's like electrolytes, something just to replenish a little bit. That way, if you have to go back in, okay, you know what? Like take a 30 minute break, go back in that fire, knock it down, and at least you can perform a little bit better. I'm not going to say you're fully recovered, but the difference between replenishing your salts and minerals versus just water, can help you go
Mhm.
that extra 20, 30 minutes to finish something, to do something. So it's just experiences like that. It's like, okay, like what's that product that I want to gear
Yeah.
towards to get me to help others, kind of what I've experienced. So I always say summer, but you can sweat all the time, but obviously plus 30.
Yeah, no, but our summer heat is intense, right?
Yeah,
That's when that
yeah,
happened for me too. You lose a lot more when it's that hot out. I almost prefer going like some people are like, oh, like it's not warm enough out. And I'm like, I almost like going on like a cool day in like spring or fall where it's not as hot because
yeah,
you don't even like really notice the sweat as much. You are still losing stuff, but
for sure.
you're not like building up like that heat where it's like you're making your own little like
Yeah.
uh oven on yourself there. But how much gear do you guys carry around by the way, Kevin? I think I've heard this before, but it's been a while.
It's about 50-ish pounds. Like, so you got,
So I was thinking 50 pounds.
yeah, obviously you've got your gear on,
Yeah.
your tank on, usually a tool. You got usually a hose on your back and
Yeah.
then your helmet. So it adds up to a lot, 50, 60 pounds, depending on the type of equipment. It's good average, but it
Yeah.
definitely gets heavy and you do a lot of stairs. So it gets you in
Yep.
shape, that sort of things.
No
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah, no, it's not like just a backpack with a computer in it. You're
No,
hauling around, right? It's
exactly.
yeah, you notice when you have that stuff on. So
And that's kind of why too. So getting away just from the gym and like to say, I know hybrid approach has been a very popular thing as of late, the last couple of years, but it's
yeah.
true. So it's like, how do you make an all-round functional, like I'm going to say tactical athlete, but athlete in general, a functional athlete, like you just don't want to like look the part. I want to be able to, yeah, I can lift weights in the gym. That's all good. I can run, but when it comes to occupational performance, kind of what the tactical athlete is, it's gearing up for performance based in your occupation. You want to be able to do your physical skills, but also tactical and technical skills. So kind of
Right.
encompassing everything there. Um,
Yeah.
I want to be able to push a lot of weight if I have to, but I also want to be cardiovascularly fit. That way, if I have to run or climb or perform for 30 minutes in a burning building, you
Yeah.
just want to be at that peak fitness. And you know what, you might be in good
Yeah.
shape, but it just, as I said earlier, you want to be almost prepared for worst case scenario. You don't want to be
Totally.
in that case where I'm like, I'm gassed, but now I gotta, you know, untangle myself and a bunch of cords that drop down from the ceiling. And I'm like, I'm breathing so fast, I'm breathing heavy. Oh, okay, I gotta calm down, relax a little bit. Okay, you have it in you. Okay, you can untangle yourself, get out of like any situation you can, and then you can get outside the building. Or if I have to climb up onto something to get out, like I can do that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of bring in both aspects of the strength, the endurance, and then also your mobility, kind of all in one realm of fitness to ensure optimal performance. So it's
For
kind of
sure. Hey, you know what? I was smiling. I was just thinking. I had to write it down because I just saw it like literally in the last couple of days. I didn't think of it ahead of our meeting here, but there's this thing there they have out there. It's comparing like um, they've seen it a few times, I guess, on like world stage stuff where people come out of like straight up. They call it like tribal training or like something like that, where folks have come in. So there was like this guy from like the UFC
yep,
got into like the fighting ring. He was from the tribe, like not a lot of like train like anything that way. A runner out of South America that were like basically sent like just like very raw training, raw diet, like nothing like performance wise, and then they can just come in and just completely dominate. And otherwise, it doesn't seem to be like physical stature wise, doesn't seem to be like that like noticeable. Besides the fighting guy, he was jacked. But the the running lady was very like I was kind of like okay, like maybe they can run, but they just like can perform at that level. And I've seen this other video. This guy with he was with bodybuilders. He was a rock climber, and he just casually did the same like lat pull down or something like that. That these are like really big guys are doing, and they're just like what? And I think there's always like these like kind of wild card things that can happen in like the sports world. I don't know if you've ever seen that before or seen what I'm talking about.
yeah,
I just
yep,
sort of following this one account like literally the last couple of days, and I'm like, okay, now it's I'm seeing it a lot, and I'm like, oh, this is really crazy. These little stories I just you know, quickly ran over here, but I was super impressed by that. I'm like, well, these are weird diets from what they're saying on these things, not, while training stuff, to what we, like, more modern settings, but maybe that is like a better way to go about it. But they're probably, I don't know what they're eating or what's in those diets, but
Yeah, no, I have no idea, but it's one of those things that just, as I mentioned earlier too, like what's relevant now won't be relevant in 5 years, or maybe we'll get back to something that was relevant 20 years ago. It's just
totally,
always changing. I know right now, like I said, the popularity of the functional athlete, that's kind of like the key term right now, being
yeah,
functional, which is true though. Like I know some people hate it, but it's you don't want to just look like an ornament. You want to be able to perform. That's kind of like how I've always said. So,
totally, yeah.
and
I was
everyone
like
has
you
different
people,
goals, right? So like if like I'm not just for the goal of being like a first responder, you want to be able to do all of that because your job demands it. Where there's nothing wrong if you just want to go to the gym and be a bodybuilder. It's just kind of what's relevant
totally,
to you in your life, and
right,
in our career path in our profession, it's best to be fit. So, but how
yeah.
the
That's
training
an
looks in 20 years from now, completely different.
totally,
So,
yeah. I haven't heard anyone say it in that way, but that is an interesting point. Though, but you're totally right. I mean, the same thing happens once in a while. You see, like, was it? Just watched this other documentary not long ago. About like the Patriots and their whole thing, and like they like have like Tom Brady, and they kind of like they initially like in his career didn't, and he still doesn't, have the physique of like just this like super athletic human. Obviously, he is
yeah,
to some degree, and I'm not like a big like football guy. But there's no opinion on that end of things, but it's just like interesting to see like that high performance and like
yeah,
the wins were coming from something like that versus other people who do critique the look of things and just like noting the importance of performance
yeah,
versus the image side of the training, right? Where people
mhm,
can get caught up in that being the goal, and really they're more
yeah.
of the athlete. They don't need to look like that necessarily. So
And
yeah,
it gets hard because, like, you always expect, like, hey, when you see a professional athlete, they take off the shirt, you're like, that's what he looks
yeah,
like
yeah,
deceiving, like, but not saying they can't perform. It's just we're just, especially with social media now, we're so keen to see, like, hey, if this guy's not fit, like, is he truly an athlete or whatever? It's like not always the case. It's a lot more deceiving than you think. So you
yeah,
get big guys who are 400 pounds and they can move, they're,
yeah,
they're athletic, they can whether it's guys in UFC or whatever, like they're big guys, but they can go 5 rounds for 5 minutes. They can punch like no tomorrow. They roll around the ground. Like it's interesting to see. Like it's nice to see like so many different variations of people and like how like they're fit and like what they coin to be performance based. So
totally,
I know a lot of things
yeah,
we see too is just like your bodybuilder. That's where it makes sense because you're trying to obtain that peak performance. So, but
yeah. That's There's another one just popped in my head here. Just was I'll do better. I'll remember all these accounts for next time that I'm discussing something like this. But it was like like farmer versus gym thing I saw online. It was like different things that they had them do, like splitting wood, or I was like pulling themselves up or pulling like ropes and stuff like that. It was very interesting. My background's in ag. I've seen lots of farmers in my time,
big
and some of those
guys.
guys do not look like they're super jacked, but they are strong like bulls. They will literally just go grab something with like one arm, pull it up, and
Oh
you
man,
try to do the same thing, and you're like two hands
yeah,
carrying this thing, and you think of yourself as being in like shape, and you try to go do something like that on a farm. You're like, holy crap, these guys are farm jacked. I don't know. They've just always been lifting stuff up. I got a couple good buddies from ag that
just
were wild like that, just
strong.
insanely strong. Yeah, my buddy Matt and Jamie, like nutty in university. Like, yeah,
The first interaction, like it was back when I was playing junior hockey, and actually I think it was before that. But anyways, we were playing generally a farm town in Grunthal, and just around
yeah,
that area, there's a lot of farm boys, and like I'm a big guy, like big defense, and it was a smaller guy, maybe like 5'10". And I remember I went to the corner and went to go hit him. I'm like, well, I got this easily,
yeah,
and stood his ground and knocked me down. Just oh my god, it's like how'd that happen? Well, big farm boy, just yeah, he just doesn't look the part, but strong. I was like, oh my god, like
yeah,
that one hurt. And I was just like, that's an awakening. So now I gotta be careful, just because they look small Got to look where we
Yeah, it
are.
doesn't
Farming community.
doesn't mean
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, it doesn't have the same correlation. It's never that way. I've had similar experiences in hockey and lacrosse growing up, exact same thing. You kinda yeah, have a
Nothing
different,
wrong.
like, expectation physically. You go to that corner along the boards and stuff, and,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't go in the way that you expected it to, but that's good learning. Very humbling.
Definitely
So,
learning moment. That's for sure. So.
yeah, that's good. Well, Kevin, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, and, like, how can they find you on different socials? I know I follow you on a couple, but just make sure I got them all. Like, we have Instagram, Facebook,
Correct.
um, you on any others outside of that?
I have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. They're all at Taclete
LinkedIn? Okay,
Performance, and then my website, tacleteperformance.ca.
okay.
And then all my contact information is there. You can email me, call me, text me. Pretty open to everything, so everything's
Okay.
there. So
Awesome, and that's all on your website for,
yeah, correct. Everything's on my
listener?
website.
Okay,
Yep.
great. We'll pull that off too. It'll be in, like, the right below if someone hears this and they're, if they got us on Spotify when they're listening and
Yep.
stuff like that, you can just go to the stuff that we have listed below, with the ability to find you, and just wanna say, yeah, thanks for making time to be on here, Kevin. This was great to have you
Awesome.
on.
No, thanks for having me. It was a good chat. Really enjoyed it. So thank
Yeah.
you for the opportunity here.
Anytime, Kevin. This is great. We'll see you at hopefully some of the runs coming up locally here. I think I'll be attending them with some of our folks with the brand and
Yeah.
stuff, and hopefully I'm
I
racing
hope to
some of
see
them
you
too.
around.
So
We'll
yeah, we will
meet up again for
absolutely.
sure. Okay.
Right on. Awesome. Thanks,
Okay.
Kevin. We'll talk
Here.
to you soon.
Yes.